Welcome to the Future of Online Business series and the specific 2026 forecast for you as a projector. So in episode 2 of this series, we covered the 5 business themes for 2026 that are really being informed by the 2026 astrological transit. So we had humanness, relational business, hyper personalization, visibility reimagined, and self-trust and nervous system capacity. So if you haven't listened to that episode yet, highly recommend going back and listening to that first, because it's a much more robust deep dive of those themes, and that is really informing this specific forecast for you as a projector. And the episode before that covered the major transits for the year. And I think that even if you're not someone who is, super into astrology, or it's something that you're new to, I think that understanding I think seriousness is not the right word. I think just understanding the enormity of all of the generational planets shifting, kicking off with Pluto moving into Aquarius at the end of 2024. Since that time, in an 18-month period, all of the outer planets and the generational planets will have shifted signs, which is always significant, right? It creates, huge change collectively. And that is what then influences the strategies and the ways of doing things in business that work and don't work, right? Which is what is informing all of, the conversations that we're having, today. So make sure that you start there. But today in this episode, it's all about what this means for you as a projector. I have a lot of projector clients. I love working with projectors. I'm not a projector myself. I'm a manifesting generator actually, but on my design side, I am a mental projector. So my design chart in human design, and I'm a Capricorn rising, I'm Saturn ruled. So I am someone that really, I'm also a 12th house moon, Cancerian. So I have a lot of rest, alone time, energy in my chart. And so I really love to support projectors, to create something that works with their energy, and works with the way that their energy flows, because I think that it could be really challenging to be a projector in business. It could be really challenging to be a non-sacral, So I'm excited to have this conversation. It's a conversation that I've had many, many times, and it almost always starts in the same place. So we'll get there in a moment, but a quick snapshot of what each major transit is asking of you as a projector this year. So firstly, Neptune moving into Aries. This feels really connected to trusting your own insights, trusting your intuition, not waiting for someone to see that in you. Yes, your strategy as a projector is about waiting for the invitation, and it is so important that you are being recognized and you are only guiding and taking action when you do feel recognized, when that has happened. And also, it starts with you. It starts with you letting yourself be seen. And I think a lot of the other transits this year are going to support that as well. We have Saturn moving into Aries as well. What is the structure that allows your wisdom and your expertise to actually reach people? Even when you're resting, Saturn is asking you to build something really sustainable. And that's not through more effort. That's through better systems. That's, I would say, the most important work that I do with projectors is how do we create a sales ecosystem where those invitations and that recognition is happening more organically. And I really like this Aries energy for you, because I think that, if we think about, Neptune and that being the planet that represents creativity and psychic receptivity, and Saturn being structure and discipline, and the sign of Aries, it is about leadership. It is about going first. And I think that there is always going to be that balance. And yes, you are here to receive recognition and invitations, but I also think that in order for that to happen, you need to be seen, right? Your expertise needs to be seen. And I'm really excited about the transits that are happening this year. I feel anyway, let's just continue on. We've got Saturn conjunct Neptune. So both of those planets are coming together in the sky at 0 degrees of Aries. Hasn't happened for, some say 6,000 years, some say 9,000 years. But I think this is really connected to embodiment. I think people can feel the difference between whether you're a projector or not. This goes for all the types. We can feel the difference between, someone who is operating from depth and one who's running on fumes, right? And I think this transit will really expose where maybe you've been overextending a little bit. I think it's going to really reward, building a business that doesn't require you to be on all the time. And it's going to really reward, building a structure around that. I think Uranus in Gemini, this is really about your expertise being witnessed, not just when someone invites you, but because the world genuinely needs all the projectors sharing what they see. This transit is, I think, liberating you from the old paradigm of like holding back until you're asked. I think there's a real difference between waiting for that invitation to guide and waiting for that recognition in order to support someone deeply, and kind of waiting for permission all the time in order for you to share your opinions and share the things that you're passionate about. They're separate things, right? And so this is about sharing what you observe, sharing the patterns you're noticing, sharing the things that you've been thinking that maybe nobody else is kind of saying, right? Then we have Jupiter in Leo. This is your year to be visible in your full expression, not the dimmed down, like, I don't want to seem like too much version. You know, you see everything that we miss. And I think that there can be a lot of like conditioning around that, right? Like, so I think this is the year to really do that work and meet yourself in that and really see, really witness, like, where am I feeling uncomfortable about speaking really clearly and sharing my expertise and sharing the things that I'm seeing that are being missed, because we want you to share that, right? Then we have the North Node moving into Aquarius, and of course the South Node, right opposite that, will be moving into Leo. And I think that this is the recognition that your guidance is serving something so big. You know, it's serving the collective. And when projectors step into their role properly of guiding and directing and seeing that bigger picture, of course the collective benefits, because you see where we can be more efficient. You see where we can be doing things differently. And so the question is whether you're actually letting yourself do that, or maybe whether like you're still maybe playing a little bit small because it feels safer, right? Okay, I want to ask you something. If you stopped working tomorrow, not forever, just for a week or two, what would happen to your business? Would your business keep running? Would leads still come in? Would people still find you, trust you, move toward working with you? Or would everything just kind of stop? Because what I hear from almost every projector who comes to work with me is they say something along the lines of, business feels so hard as a projector. And I get it. I really do. I've worked with loads of projectors, and a lot of the kind of traditional advice of consistency, you know, posting consistently, you know, over delivery and discovery calls, cold outreach, like creating multiple low ticket offers to scale. It's a lot. It's a lot for you as a projector. Like, that would be exhausting. And there's probably a big part of you that's felt resentful about how business is done, and frustrated. And maybe even like, oh, how do I be a projector in all of this? And the worst part, I think, as well, for a lot of the projector clients that I work with, like the worst part that they share with me is like, I know I'm stepping outside of my design to do it, but like, what's the alternative? It's like, it's not that they're oblivious to the fact that it doesn't feel good. It's like, well, when your business literally stops the moment that you rest, then it feels pretty impossible not to chase. And so I think that this is about letting go of spaces and people who don't recognize you, but it is also very much about the business strategy and the ecosystem, that Saturnian structure, right? Because for you to actually feel confident to wait for recognition and that invitation, that's an embodiment practice. That is, you know, conditioning and understanding your design, but it's also a very practical consideration too. This has probably been like my biggest pet peeve in like all of my coaching is like all of the, and I think we're saying goodbye to this with like Neptune and Saturn leaving Pisces, but just the, you know, business is 95%, you know, mindset and subconscious work. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's a big part of it, of course, but you can't just manifest your way to like feeling confident to rest and your business support you in that. Like, if you don't have the structure in place, like that's not going to work, right? And with Saturn and Neptune meeting in Aries, like people are going to feel your energy through the screen. So I almost feel like there is almost this like added layer of like requirement to not be in depletion, right? Because, you know, if you are burnt out, that's not going to create recognition, right? Like, it's not going to support you to be seen and recognized, because when you're running on empty, like, you can't access the thing that actually makes you magnetic, which is your insight, right? Your ability to see what everyone else is missing. So the real question isn't like, how do I rest more as a projector? Like, yes, of course, that is a question, but I also think a really important question to be asking is like, what needs to exist in your business so that your nervous system can actually exhale? Because I promise you, the moment your system knows there's a plan, the moment your body knows that, the moment you know that leads are being nurtured and people can find you and your pathway is clear even when you step back, that's when you can really be in your design. That's when you become more magnetic, right? I want to tell you about 2 clients. The first client of mine, she's a 5/1 projector. She's just been in the recent cohort of CCBD, and she actually had quite a bit going on when she came into the space. And she is someone with real expertise, and she'd been experimenting and trying a lot of things, but just, yeah, there was like a little bit of action happening there. There was like people that were already coming to her. She was doing a little bit of collaborations and partnerships, which felt really natural for her energy, which I think makes sense as well, because I think projectors really thrive in relational, like invitation-based containers. But what was really missing is like there was nowhere for those people to go. So she was kind of doing the work, but there was no nurture process. There was no ecosystem to really like catch the leads and capture those relationships that were being built. So there was a lot of like effort, and like she would do a collaboration and people would be interested, but then like nothing would happen because there was no email sequence, no clear next step, no way to build a relationship over time. So unless those people were in that moment ready to buy, which 97, 98% of people who come into your world are not ready to buy right now, and that's normal, right? But nothing was happening. And when you're a projector, like you're generating, like the visibility exists and you're putting in that work, like we want a system to hold that. We want to maximize every single thing that you are doing, right? And that's going to be a one-way ticket to bitterness, right? Because she was doing the work, right? I know you're doing the work. You're showing up. People are even like recognizing your expertise, but then those conversions aren't happening. And I think that that's a big shift that we've seen in online business and business in general, is like we need that trust building, right? People really want to see your values and your embodiment before they're buying. And so we need to create a way for that to happen, right? We've seen how important trust building is as part of the sales process. And so what we did in CCBD is we got really clear on her message. So what is the actual expertise she's here to share? And then we formalized the collaboration process that was kind of already happening organically. And really critically, we built we haven't finished it, but we've started building that nurture system behind it. So now when people come into her world through partnerships, through guest appearances, or just through her Instagram or Substack, they have somewhere to go. They can have trust built over time, and invitations and recognition can happen more organically because there's a process, right? I've got another client. She's a 2/4 splenic projector. She's a career and business mentor, incredibly gifted at guiding her clients through human design and astrology. Just a real master at what she does. But when it came to running her business, it was a little bit of the same story. She was really good at her expertise and her craft, but not so much at running the business side of things. And I think that can be really common. And I don't think that's something that is actually like problematic. It's just like most of us didn't sign up to like do all this extra shit that we have to do in running a business. You know, it's like we signed up, you know, and we're doing the work that we're doing because we want to be doing that work. We want to be creating a transformation. But then we start a business and we're like, oh shit, I've also got to like do the marketing, and I've got to do this thing, and I've got to do that thing, right? And it was a little bit of that happening for this client. And she was really, really burnt out, really, really burnt out. Also, you know, juggling her business, motherhood, like a lot of things that were happening in her personal life as well. And she said it like really clearly herself. She said, the problem wasn't my work guiding clients. I knew I was really great at that. The problem was that I was, and this is in her words, I was really bad at running a business. So we built her foundation. We started with her overall movement. It's been such a joy to watch her sharing about her movement online. She just started a podcast. It's just really cool. But what does she actually stand for? What's the message? And then we created a messaging, like a brand script around that, so she could communicate that expertise without like content creation, like draining her limited capacity. She also really did a lot of work to bring in AI as a co-pilot for her, not to replace any of her expertise and insight, but to do a lot of the like rinse and repeat tasks that are just, you know, not enjoyable for her to do. Like, let's create a process for her to like show up and deliver that podcast and deliver her expertise, but like, let's not have to write the show notes from scratch. Like, let's use AI as part of that, right? And that cut execution time down dramatically so she could spend her energy on what she's actually brilliant at, which is ideation and study and guiding people. And what was really cool is content creation was consuming like 75% of her day, and it's now just a fraction of that. She's created a couple of really amazing opt-ins that can, again, create that pathway for people to work with her while she rests. Like, there's that confidence to actually be in her design because of that. She's got an ecosystem now that really balances her, need to be seen, but she also, she's got a 10th house sun, but she also has a lot in her chart around privacy and seclusion too. She's a 12th house moon like me. And that's all possible when a projector has like the right business strategy. Like you don't have to choose between visibility and rest. Like you get to build for both. And that's the thing that I really want to share with you. Like you're not here to exchange time for money. That's you're not here for that. Your value is in the insight that you can solve, like you're here to exchange your expertise for money. Like you can solve someone's problem in like 90 minutes that might take them months to figure out alone. Like you can say in 15 minutes what takes others like an hour to say. Like that's your gift. But if your messaging is still built around time-based packages, like 12 weeks of coaching with weekly calls, like you're kind of burying the thing that makes you a projector, and the question your messaging needs to answer isn't how much time do I get with you? It's what will you see that I can't see on my own? And that's a fundamentally different conversation. And I think we want that, right? Because if information and effort created results, we'd all have multiple $1 million businesses, but we don't, because that's not what creates results, right? And you are so well positioned to be a real gift as part of helping people see that, right? I also wanted to really briefly mention like study and depth for you as a projector. I think that as a projector, your sales process really starts with your learning and development, right? Not in a you're not ready yet and you need to learn more kind of way, but in a this is actually how you generate the insight and then creates the recognition kind of way, right? When was the last time that you just watched something, listened to something, studied something, not because you had to for a client or it was part of like growing your business and building out your modalities, but because you were just genuinely curious, right? Because that curiosity and that depth, that's what comes through in your content and makes people feel like you see something that they don't. And with Uranus moving into Gemini, really reshaping how we communicate and teach, your ability to see patterns and like bridge these different ideas, I think it's going to become so valuable, but only if you're actually feeding that. Right? If you're spending all of your time on execution and admin, like you're starving the thing that makes you a projector, that makes you really magnetic, right? I also wanted to briefly touch on bitterness, the not self theme, the sign that you are maybe not doing things in alignment. This is a really big signal for you that something needs to shift. And so when bitterness shows up for you this year, and you probably know exactly what it feels like in your body, that's telling you something structural, needs to change. That might be about, I don't know, embodiment, making sure your, really precious energy isn't being given away to people who don't value you or your insights, but it could also be structural. Are you putting in the work like my client that was in CCBD, but you haven't created a system in order to receive that? Maybe you're over delivering and really in that sort of exchanging time for money, and you feel like you're just using all of that precious energy in other people's, lives and other people's businesses. Maybe it's pricing. You're feeling like you're not compensated for your real value. Maybe you're saying yes to everything instead of just being selective. And maybe you don't have the systems and invitations are just falling through the cracks, right? Whatever that looks like, I think, notice that, like instead of pushing through that, ask what would need to change structurally for this feeling and this experience to not be here. And something that I think would be really amazing for you to do after this episode is to look at your business and answer really honestly, like if I stepped away for a week, what would keep running and what would stop, right? Write it down. Rome wasn't built in a day and neither was a system. You could have two columns. You could have like what would keep running and what would stop, and then kind of like look at the stops column and ask like, what is one system that I could create that would really keep this going without me, right? So if like one of the things that's in that column is like lead generation, right? Like if I'm not creating the content, like I don't really have a plan for what that would look like. Okay, what else could we do? Like, could it be a small amount of ad spend to bring some of those ideal clients to you? Could it be, that you have, I don't know, like some of your expertise is in another person's course. And so every time they invite new clients into their business, you are being witnessed and it's got nothing to do with your output, right? Like those kinds of things. Or maybe it's a nurture sequence. Maybe it's a lead magnet that positions your expertise so that when people find you on Instagram, even if you're resting, there is a way for you to invite them into your email list and build that relationship, right? What does that actually look like, right? You don't need to build everything this week, right? Just identify what some of those gaps are, because once you see it, that's really important clarity. And that's where you can really start to, look at what systems need to be in place for you to be successful in business as a projector, right? And alongside that, commit, if you can, to a little bit of time this week to maybe start executing that, and also create some, time and space for you to just study and explore, not for content creation, like just for your own curiosity. Like feed the thing that makes you brilliant, right? Like your business and your relationships will really thank you for that as well. And of course, if you would like more support with this, I do have a free human design and business strategy guide that I think is going to be super helpful for you as a projector. Inside, so when you download the first guide, there's actually 5 resources in total that are delivered over a couple of weeks. And the one that I want to flag for you specifically as a projector is the first is, it's the very last resource 5. It's like this complete guide for consistent conversions specifically for you as a projector. And it breaks down offer creation, content, as well as sales ecosystems that work with your energy as a projector, that really like honor this like need for recognition and invitations. Like basically, how do we create an ecosystem to make that, like I basically call it like recognition-based marketing, right? Like it's the way that you do things it should be really different as a projector. And so that's a really good resource. That's actually resource 5 that gets delivered. And the second is the energy centers deep dive, which is actually resource 4. I think understanding which centers in your human design chart, if you're really new to human design, it's all the little shapes that are like in the outline of the person when you look up your human design type. That's really useful in helping you understand like what's creating pressure, and what is influencing like your conditioning basically. And, it might be like you're an undefined root and you're really experiencing that urgency. And like, I think it just can help you to understand where you're amplifying other people's energy and how to make sure that you are, taking aligned action in 2026 and beyond, because there will be a lot of like action energy. There's a lot of air and fire. In fact, all of the outer and generational planets are in air and fire signs. So we want to make sure that you are coming back, to your body and really, taking steps from a regulated place. So all of that is in the links below. And of course, if you want to figure out what to focus on, like specifically as it relates to sales, I highly recommend Selling Soulfully. It's $37 and it walks you through like that full sales ecosystem. So I introduced that in the freebie. And then there is, a training specifically for you as a projector. And it also takes into account your season of business too, and helps you figure out like what is the next step specifically for you. Not what are all the steps, but based on your season of business and what exists in your business, what you've already got, as it relates to an ecosystem, it'll basically give you your next step, and it only takes a couple of hours to complete. And if you would like a space where we do this together, where we can pull up your chart, really look at your business, your messaging, and really build a strategy that actually accounts for your projector energy, the way we did with both of my projector clients. We had lots of other projector clients, but those specific examples that I shared, that's in Constantly Converting by Design. It's where we build businesses that love you back. We run this twice a year. It's a 12-week experience with 6 months of complimentary access in our alumni community post-experience. So we like to make sure that it's really spacious for you. It's not about just doing everything. CCBD is really about doing the thing that matters most for you. And our next cohort is kicking off in April, which is really exciting. So make sure that you're on the CCBD waitlist. So we are opening up enrollment specifically to the waitlist. So make sure that you're on the waitlist on March 2nd, 2026. And we've got some, really fun gifts for you on the waitlist. So make sure that you're on the waitlist. We'd love to meet you. We'd love to work with you in there. Links for everything are below. Please make sure that you come back for the embodiment practice, which is going to be episode 8 in this series and episode 311 on the All That Jazze podcast. And it's going to be really, really great. It's really about taking you through 2026, through all of the transits as if it's already happened, and really just contemplating the gifts of each of those transits, really starting to feel that in your body as though this is December 2026. It's already happened for you. You've already experienced it. It's a really beautiful practice. So make sure that you come back and listen to that.